Hey y'all, my name's Sam. I'm a full-time eBay reseller, and my family and I also travel full-time in a 25-foot travel trailer, and eBay funds us being able to do our traveling adventure. If this is something that you're interested in, please like, comment, and subscribe, and hopefully you'll see some of our other videos that we put up. I haven't done a whole video in quite a long time except for some shorts because I was getting pretty low energy on the whole eBay thing, mainly because I wasn't really seeing an uptick in subscribers or likes, barely any commenting. I don't know if it's because I'm just that damn boring, if the subject matter just wasn't as interesting as I thought, or if there's some other reason. Maybe I'm not doing the right tags or something. Maybe I'm not, doing good with the algorithm. I don't know, but it just made it harder for me to want to sit down and do these videos. But it got to the point where I was really wanting to talk about some things, so I decided to make another video, and we may end up making more. I know my wife wants to do a video with me on the actual travel side of this and the places we've been and like how fun they were or what we did, instead of just the eBay. And then we also want to do another video of the cons of doing this, not just traveling full-time with a family, but also trying to run an eBay business full-time with a family. So those are potential videos that are coming up in the future, but today I wanted to talk about more about sourcing. My last video that I did, we were in Colorado Springs, and it was after the first week we were there, and that was really the first part of the real start of our adventure, because before that we were in Arkansas for a month, and we've lived there 15 years ago. Before we moved to San Antonio, that's where we were from. It's where I met my wife. We have friends and family there, so it was more of just like a interlude before we started the trip. Thrifting and sourcing garage sales wasn't bad. I found some good stuff, like I told you guys about the Nintendo Power magazine lot I found, but it wasn't great either. When we got to Colorado Springs, I was hoping things were going to pick up, and they did. It was pretty good the first week, and I think I already told you guys about that, but one thing I didn't think I brought up is just how much NES stuff I found the 2 weeks we were in Colorado Springs. The first weekend I found 3 NESs and a bunch of games from one seller at one of the garage sales I went to, and then another one had like 7 or 8 games, and out of those that guy had a Tengen Tetris game, which I've already sold for $104. So I took an offer on that one for $94. So all in all, there's just a lot of NES stuff that I found. I found some other good stuff. One thing I was not used to compared to San Antonio is just how much stuff I was finding at each garage sale. Like normally in San Antonio, I'd need to go to a couple different sales before I'd find a couple of good items at one sale, and then a couple more sales, and maybe I'd find one item, and then maybe 3 or 4 more sales I might find a little bit of a treasure trove of stuff, maybe some video games or whatever. But when I was in Colorado Springs, the difference was almost every garage sale I went to, I found something that I wanted to buy that had good sell-through rate. Because again, I tell you guys, sell-through rate is really important. And I've noticed the other places that we've been to too, that the majority of the time it seems like there is a lot less reseller pressure than there was in San Antonio, which kind of, plays out my theory that San Antonio is a very, very reseller heavy and pressured city to live in. And even there, I was still finding decent stuff. I just had to grind a whole lot more and just be really good on the game. But it's been easier since we've been on the road. I'm not having to go to as many sales to find good stuff, and that's always a plus. So we were in Colorado Springs. The second week we were there, I went to another set of community sales that were going on, and I found quite a bit of more stuff. Like I found some digital cameras. I found some good old 80s toys. Nothing like really high dollar, and a lot of them were missing their stuff, but mainly Marvel stuff. I found from a sale that it was actually the first sale I went to the second weekend. It was a Craigslist sale. He said he had GameCube games. He didn't have contact information, so I didn't really try to contact him to find out if I could meet him beforehand or find out what he had. So I just went there. Ended up showing up 30 minutes early because I thought, okay, this is the best of what I could see so far. And I went there, and he was not even setting up. So I talked with the 2 other guys that showed up a little bit after me. One of them was, he mainly likes to go to estate sales. He's more of an antiques type guy. And there was another guy there who actually works with estate sale companies now, and he used to sell on eBay. So we're waiting for this guy to get his stuff together because he's actually running late by now. And the guy that actually works for estate sale companies that used to sell on eBay says he's got a bunch of Nintendo stuff that he wants to get rid of. And because we talked to him, I told him about what we were doing, and after we left the sale, we went over to his house, which the sale ended up being really bad. The guy couldn't even find the couple of GameCube games he said he had. So it was great that I could go to this guy's house. He was a couple miles away. And we met up there, and he brought out 2 big old boxes of stuff. He had 3 more NESs, like 8 controllers, zappers, all the cords and stuff, and like at least another 40 or 50 NES games. And here's the kicker. He had not 1, but 2 Tengen Tetris games. One had the box sleeve still with it. He had not 1, not 2, but 3 Zelda Gold Edition Legend of Zelda games, one of which was complete in the box. Now, the box and the poster and stuff were in pretty rough shape. I had to do a lot of tape operation, as I like to call it, on them to get them complete, back to complete. So it's not going to sell as much as it would, but I should still get at least 150 for it. On top of that, he also had the first volume of Nintendo Power, also not in the greatest shape, but it did have the poster. 2 of the what is it, the magazine before Nintendo, what is it now, I can't remember, Nintendo Fun Club. Those are okay. And then there was a strategy guide with a bunch of different games in it that sells for about 30. He had some decent games besides those. I found Batman Return of the Joker, which is another $70 game. Some good 20, 30s, a couple more 20s and 30s, and then some $15. Just there was enough to grind out. There wasn't a whole lot of ones that I would not put up, even the $12 and $13 ones, because my buy cost was like $2 a piece. So they're still worth putting up to make a couple bucks on them. Just got to do some cleaning. So that was my big score. And the theme of these will be like, I'm mainly going to tell you about the video game stuff I find, because that's something I'm really interested to. But I'm finding other stuff. I'm not just a video game seller. I look for anything that's got a high sell-through rate. I will pick it up. I don't care what it is. And you'll notice that when I talk about some of the other places we were at, what I picked up, and what it's worth. So we were in Colorado Springs for 2 weeks. After that, we left, went up to Idaho Falls, Idaho. And this was a place we really enjoyed being in. Especially, you're going to find out when we do the travel video, like we'll talk more about that, but we really liked Idaho Falls. I will say one thing. The great thing about Idaho Falls, it wouldn't stick out just by the name, but it's central to a lot of really cool stuff, and it's got its own stuff, and it's right in its backyard. But it's 2.5 hours to the Grand Teton National Park across the mountains from there. You can also get to the southern part of Yellowstone from Grand Tetons, or you can go 2.5 hours north, 2.5 hours or so north from Idaho Falls, and be in the west gate of Yellowstone. There's also Grand Targhee Forest. Salt Lake City's like 2 hours south. It's just very centrally located, and we enjoyed it a lot. We did a lot more there than we have really any other place. So I was kind of not sourcing as much as I probably should have, but I had quite a bit of inventory from Colorado Springs, so I wasn't too worried. I mainly want to keep around a month's worth of inventory, but that actually goes more towards how much space do I have left. I found that probably about a month is where I can cram into the nooks and crannies, and that's about where I'm at, unless it's just all straight video game stuff, which that's never the case. So we were in Idaho Falls. The first week I tried to do a little bit more thrifting, and I got to go to my first DI, which is Deseret Industries. If you don't know what that is, it's like a Mormon-based thrift, but they don't really do an online presence, so they sell all their stuff in their stores. The prices are pretty decent on most of them, and it was a good place to go to try out this different thrifting than Goodwill. They also have this place called Idaho Youth Ranch, which I went in. I didn't really find much there, but that's another regional one in Idaho. But in the DI, I found that they were pretty good about stock and stuff. There was at least one cart out all the time that we were there. We stayed about an hour the first time. That was restocking stuff, and we actually got a restock on. I found 4 cassette recorders, 2 of which were Sony VOR cassette recorders, which ended up working. The other 2 are Panasonics, which didn't. I'm going to lot them up as parts. And then my daughter, later, when I was in another part, they brought out some digital cameras. Nothing really high end, no Canon SD 180s or whatever, but there's Olympus FE20, and then 2 or 3 other ones I can't remember the names of, but they were $30, $40 cameras if they're working. I know the FE does work because it had the battery and stuff. I was able to do that right there, but pretty good stuff. I also found working VCR in there, and a couple other items. Just, just good stuff that you hope to find at thrift stores. Didn't really find a whole lot at the other ones I went to, but I didn't really try that hard. We went thrifting probably 5 or 6 times, and I'd find 1 or 2 things here or there. We only went to maybe 1 or 2 stores each time we went out. I just didn't really need to source as much. The first weekend I only went to 1 garage sale because, again, we were doing a lot of stuff. We had a lot of stuff planned in this area. So I went to 1 sale, and again, it came on an ask, which I tell you guys, you gotta ask for stuff. Most of the good stuff is not gonna be out. They're not gonna remember it. You gotta ask for it. Video games, digital cameras, VCRs, camcorders, all that stuff. So I asked this guy if he had video game stuff, and he was over at his ex's house, I guess, helping her. They had lived together, and they were trying to get rid of some of their stuff, but he'd already moved into the other house, and he had a bunch of stuff there. So I went over to his house, and he started just pulling stuff from the rafters in his garage, and I ended up getting a Nintendo Switch with a dock, but no cords. The Switch ended up working. It was a full Switch, but the screen's pretty scratched up. He had like 5 or 6 games for it. I ended up getting 3 or 4 GameCube games that he didn't have. The GameCube, didn't know where it was. I got a full Wii, 4 or 5 Wii games, a DS Lite, DSi, couple of low-end games for that. I got a couple of knives. Just, it was a pretty good buy. I only spent about $140. So, Switch alone is going to sell for almost that. And it is I had tested it out. Everything works on the Joy-Cons and stuff. So it was a good buy. But that was all I did that week. Was go thrifting a little bit and just do that 1 garage sale. The next weekend, it was, again, we were pretty busy, but I ended up going out for a couple hours garage selling on Saturday. And the highlight was I found like 25 or 30 Sasquatch DVDs, like different DVDs on Sasquatch. This is one of those times where I would never have thought that would be worth something, but it was something I'd never seen before, so I looked it up. And if you watch my man J-Ride Flips, he's got another YouTube channel a lot bigger, and he talks about a lot of cool stuff. One of the things that he talks about is don't look for stuff that you enjoy or you like and think might sell for something. Look for stuff that you've never heard of or you don't know what it is or you don't like it, because that's going to probably be the stuff that's worth the most money. And that was this case. I had no interest whatsoever in Sasquatch stuff. It was just something I'd never seen before. So you look it up, and that's what I did. A lot of these videos were going for $20-30. There were a couple that had no listings whatsoever. These look like independent, like low budget films, but there seems to be quite an interest in these types of videos. So even those are probably going to be worth money because nobody can get a hold of them. So I paid $20 for those. I got 5 or 6 more GameCube games from there, a couple of Wii games. They didn't have any systems, which, again, this happens sometimes. They can't find systems, or they got rid of them before. But, that alone, $20, I'm going to turn in a couple $100 by the end of it. And, it was another day just like that. I would find little bits here or there. It was enough to pretty much make the weekend profitable without having to do a whole lot. I think I spent maybe 2-3 hours tops out. So Idaho Falls is great. From there, we went up to Columbia Falls, Montana. It's about 30 minutes west of Glacier. And I know that seems like we kind of jumped around, but I really wanted to go to Glacier. It's been a bucket list thing of mine. So we went up there mainly for that. We're going to do the rest of Montana, South Dakota, North Dakota another year. But I really just wanted to pop up and do Glacier. So we stayed in Columbia Falls. It's, a pretty small place. I think it's roughly 13 to 15,000. Don't quote me. There's another town called Whitefish. It's on Whitefish Lake that's pretty close to. And then Kalispell is about 50 or 60,000, and that's the big town in the Flathead Valley. That's probably about 45 minutes south of there. But we spent most of the time in Columbia Falls and Whitefish while we were there. We were only there 10 days, so I only got to go 1 weekend. But that weekend ended up being awesome. The first garage sale I went to, it was on Craigslist. It was for an African mission fundraiser. I guess the one really ritzy neighborhood, they were giving stuff to this one family to help them with their mission trip, or it was all their stuff, I don't know. But I got there 30 minutes early, and they already had everything laid out on nice tables. Like, it was a perfect garage sale, and like there was nobody out there. Not even the owner was out there. So me and my daughter just started looking through stuff. One of the things that pulled me to this sale first was some of the pictures. They had a Wii with like a ton of games and like the full drum set, guitar and everything. And that was the first thing we went to, and we looked at it. They only wanted $75 for it. There was 3 different Wii's in there, complete. Wii drum set, Wii guitar, probably 30 or 40 games. There only ended up being about 8 that were worth anything. A lot of them were kid, but the ones we got were the normal, like ones you look for, like Wii Resort, Wii Sports, you know, Mario. There wasn't any Mario parties. I think there was a Super Smash Brothers Brawl, but that was $75. There was a Vitamix 5200 for, I think we paid $15 for that. I got a $160 Handycam, Panasonic Blue Line VCR for $5. I got a couple of box Lego sets that were, there were a couple that were complete. They were all used, and then a couple that were incomplete. Those are pretty much all sold. Just a great start. And the coolest thing about this was, it wasn't until 10 minutes after the actual start time of the sale that the first person showed up. I would have figured just from the description and a couple of pictures that were put up that this would have been the place that everybody was going to. That's why we showed up 30 minutes early. But it wasn't. Okay, same thing happened like in Whitefish. We went further on after that sale. We went into Whitefish. There was a community sale in this little area, like the higher end resort area, but it was smaller houses. A lot of them had the like alleyway with the garages on the back alley, just really small. We didn't find a whole lot there, but when I started going to some other sales in Whitefish, one of the sales we went to, hold on, let me get you out of the sun's starting to move because I'm talking too long. One of the sales we went to, I asked the guy again, do you have any video game stuff? He had quite a bit of stuff out, but I didn't see any video game stuff, so I wanted to ask him about video game stuff first because there's 1 or 2 other people there. He's like, hey, hold on just a minute. So he comes back with this paper bag, like the old grocery bags, and in the top of it I could see box N64 games, or what I thought it was. Okay, he handed it to me. It was really light. It was just the boxes. So I said, hey, do you have the games for these? He's like, yeah, just a minute, I'm gonna pull the other stuff out. So he ended up pulling 3 tubs out, and I started actually going through that bag because I didn't pull anything out because, you know, I wanted to see what the games were. But I saw 1 or 2 things. I just looked real quick. It ended up being mostly sports titles. Yeah, I guess his son was really into sports. It wasn't because that was what was left. It's just because what his son was into. There was, of course, there was a Mario 64 in there that wasn't boxed. I think there was a Doom 64. He had a couple of sports games. I also got a couple of Game Boy Advance games that were boxed. He had 2 Game Boy games. One of them was Mario Golf, which does okay. That was boxed. He did have a boxed Game Boy, like original Game Boy, that was complete. He had the box for a GBA, a blue GBA, but he could not find the GBA. He had a 360 with a couple games. He had the N64 console with like 3 controllers. He had the GameCube, which he had, it was mainly sports games again, but he did have a couple of good titles like Super Smash Brothers Brawl, Mario Sunshine, and one of the Metroid games. Yeah, and I got a couple other things there too. Like I got an old Erector set, the one that comes in the toolbox that has all the really cool like batteries and stuff in there, and a couple other things there. He had some good like Halloween and Christmas stuff. I just really didn't have the time to go through because I just didn't have the space for that type of stuff. You know, a lot of the good stuff is a little bit bigger, you know, the boxes and stuff. I couldn't do it, even though I would have liked to. But again, another small, you know, a small area I'm doing really good in. I didn't need to be in the big areas. When I went to Kalispell for a little while later that day, there were some sales, but I wasn't hitting, like everything was already picked over. I think that's where everybody was going, was Kalispell. So after we got done there for 10 days, we came back down to Idaho and went to Boise, and we stayed there for 7 days. And Boise is, of course, a bigger town. We were in Eagle, which is right next door, but it's the whole Boise metropolitan area. This is a big area in Boise, or in Idaho. There was a lot of sales going on the weekend we were there. But I was having trouble finding as much as I was finding in the little places. It was almost more like San Antonio, where I'd need to go to a couple different sales to find stuff. Granted, I was still finding better stuff, and with there being so many sales, it made it somewhat easier. And I love the layout of that area. It's all north, south, and east and west streets, like, you know, boxes. So it's real easy to find the big arterial streets and just follow them along. Because like I told you guys, the best way when you don't know an area is just follow the arterial streets, because that's where your signs are going to be, the big main areas. You know, not the 4 lanes, but the 4-lane highways, but the 4-lane like inner ways and the 2-lane ones that have all the stoplights and stuff. So I found some good stuff. Some of it I did pay up for because I was, you know, looking for stuff. Like I got a couple of DS games, like Mario DS games, and I bought it was a green Pro Xbox One controller. I think it was a Pro. I paid like $30 for it, and I think it's worth like 80 or 90. I can't remember for sure. I'd have to look at my books. But I did find decent stuff there still. And there's 1 or 2 times this time where somebody said, oh yeah, we've already been asked for that, or oh yeah, somebody bought that first thing. So there was a little bit of reseller pressure, but not near what I'm used to in San Antonio. And that was pretty much the only place where I really had that issue so far. Because after we left Boise, where we're at now, it's probably 30 minutes east of Twin Falls. I'm not going to say exactly where. But we've been here 2 weeks. We're actually leaving out on 2 days from now. So I've gotten the garage sale here 2 weeks in a row. The metropolitan area, this little area that I'm in, is about 15 to 16,000 people in probably about a 10 or 12 mile squared radius, or I don't know. And surprisingly, this is probably the best sourcing I've had since we started on this trip. The first week that we were here, it was an okay week. It was very consistent. I did find one Facebook buy that ended up being not as great as I thought it would be. He had a lot of stuff. He had 2 PS2 Slims, no controllers, but he did have the cords. Like 80 PS2 games. I thought I was making bank on these. There were some decent titles in there. He had a full GameCube, like 10 GameCube games. Xbox 360 with a couple of games. All my money I thought was in the PS2 games. He had some pretty good ones. I talked to him a lot while we were there. He had his kids because they were going to eat, and we talked mainly about video game stuff. And of course, I wasn't checking the discs. I checked on the good ones to make sure the discs were there, but I wasn't looking at the discs like I should have. That's another mistake that it's really easy to make. When I got him back, guys, it was almost like somebody taking sandpaper to all, you know, I'd say at least 60 or 70% of these discs. And of course, the best ones are the ones that have this issue. It's like his kids that just grabbed him out and were playing Frisbee with him in the lawn sometimes when they got bored. So that cut into my profit majorly. I was able to mostly get my money back by throwing pretty much the whole stack up on eBay, just as is, with, you know, telling everybody like, hey, there's a lot of scratches and stuff. Somebody bought them. I was able to get most of what I needed to make out of that to get that part back, but I'm not going to make as much on the GameCube and the couple games I am keeping that I'm hoping are going to work after I get them resurfaced, and then the Xbox 360 and the 2 Slims, which I need to get controllers for. So not great. But I did find a lot of good stuff throughout the day besides that. The big thing was this past weekend, though. The first sale we went to, and just like Colorado Springs seems to be the land of the Nintendo Entertainment System, this area seems to be the land of PlayStation 2s. Okay, so the first one I went to had another PlayStation 2 Slim with about 40 games, one of which is Fight for New York. Complete. It is the greatest hits version. And I only paid $100 for it. He had some other good, or decent titles, like the Burnouts. He had Need for Speed Underground 1 and 2. Nothing real great, but some solid $20 titles on top of that. I'm going to make some decent money on it. The discs were in much better shape this time. I made sure and checked. And then right after that, the very next sale I went to, they had 30 PS2 games, which I got for $90. Of course, I did pay up a little bit compared to the other sale, but that's still a good price because they had a lot better quality games. They had the DBZ sets. I got Budokai Tenkaichi 1 and 2, but I did not get 3. I got regular Budokai. There's a couple anime ones, Star Ocean. It was just better quality games. So I didn't mind paying up for that. And most of them are complete too. Like, I think there was only maybe 3 or 4 out of that whole set that was not worth putting up singly for sale. So we went to just those are the first 2 sales. It's not even 8:30 and I've already made enough money to cover what I need to for the week. So we just keep going, because that's what you do. You know, you keep finding stuff. You're like, if this is good, it's going to be even better. And it did. It got even better. We went to a couple other sales, found some stuff here or there. Even bought an RV water pump, a used RV water pump. Talk about like looking stuff up, guys. If you don't, you would never think that a used RV water pump would be worth something, but it was. Also, car stereos. Look those up, okay? People will not think car stereos are worth money, but they are. Like, pulled out. People like the OEM stuff. One was for a Chevy pickup, I think it was a 90s, and then the other one was for a VW, I can't remember if it was a Rabbit or what. I paid $1 a piece for them. I think one goes for like 50 and one goes for like 80. And they consistently sell. I picked up, you know, car stereos in the past, and they just sell. Look that stuff up, guys. The part number is normally on there. At that same sale, I bought, what else did I buy? I bought an RV antenna. He had some RV stuff. The RV antenna was okay. It wasn't great. I want to say I was going to make probably like 20 or 30 bucks on it, and I only had to pay like $3, so it was worth picking up. But after we did that, we went to a community sale. It's like a upper middle class area around here. It's mainly farm country, guys. So the towns, you know, are they're not run down, but it's, you know, you don't get a lot of higher end houses around here. But this is kind of like an upper, what I consider upper middle class for this area. And we went there, and I started hitting stuff right off the bat. First place I got a Harley Davidson. I call it a double jacket. It's got the cotton, the big cotton hooded jacket underneath with the full leather long sleeve jacket over top of it. Like, fantastic mint condition. It's XL. And they also had a vest. I got both those for $30. I got some Carhartt stuff, you know, jacket. I got some overalls. I got some reloading equipment. I picked up a cool jacket, KUHL, which is another brand to look out for. Look for their mountain logo. It's a bolo. I paid, I think, like $4 for that jacket. Found 3 or 4 different digital cameras, one of which I did not realize it was going to be worth so much. Again, look it up. I keep telling you guys that. It was like a 7.2 megapixel Sony CyberShot, which I know that megapixel doesn't mean, you know, it's going to be cheap, but normally it's most of the good ones are in the, you know, the 10 megapixel range. But this one, I looked it up, it was a pink model CyberShot, 7.2 megapixel, and it was going for $120 and had like a 200% sell-through rate. I was like, boing, paid $5 for that. I got another one at the same place. It was a Kodak Easy Share. It was one of the models that was worth around $40. Picked it up for $3. Got another Sony Handycam there. Got some decent video game stuff, but nothing like off the wall. This sale was more of like just finding really good bread and butter stuff with some higher end stuff that just was not video games. Just little bits here and there, but it was just all in all a really great sale. We went to a couple more sales after we left that community sale. Picked up some more stuff. I filled 2 tubs. I'm basically back at like no space now, and I've got a lot of good stuff to put up. You know, I've got about a month's worth of inventory right now to put up, and as long as it can continue like this, this whole experiment is gonna keep working. But the one thing you have to think about, though, and I had this in the back of my mind when we first started, is this: right now we're in garage sale season. I need to figure out how it's going to work after garage sale season is over, when we start going these places and it starts cooling down. We're going to spend a little bit of time in Texas before we head up further north in the winter. We're not going to go too far north, but it's going to be cold enough where there's not going to be a whole lot of sales. So I'm going to have to switch into overdrive into thrifting, which is something that I've told you guys in the past I'm not the best with. I don't have as much experience as garage selling with it, and it's not something I enjoy as much. So we're going to have to see how that goes, and that's something later on you're going to get to see too, because I'm hopefully going to still be doing videos, so you can see where that transition comes and how that works too, and see if I can continue to do this. Because, you know, I'm able to maintain exactly how much money we need during the summer. If I can continue to source as well, I'm going to make so much more money during the winter. So this whole experiment, if I can do that, is going to work with flying colors, at least for right now, because we're maintaining what we need to, which is a $65K per year pre-tax amount. I'm making that through the summer. I should definitely be able to make that through the 4th quarter, and I did not have a problem in the 1st quarter making that. So that's where we're at right now. This is definitely doable. You don't have to be a rocket science. I'm maybe above average intelligence guy, but all this really takes is your phone, common sense, and a little bit of detective work. You got to look stuff up, figure out the sell-through rate. What are you paying? What are you selling it for? How much is the postage? That's pretty much it, guys. And you can do this on the road. I'm showing you that right now. In fact, the places that are smaller, the less bigger cities, I'm not talking like, places with 500 people, but 15 to 20,000, you're probably going to do better, at least I so far have, than you're going to do in the bigger cities. So far what I'd planned were, hey, we're going to stay in these types of places where there's somewhat of a population center that we can, travel to the different places we want to see and do stuff at, so we can stay close to these places where I can source, has worked. Okay. Is it going to keep working? We'll see. But so far so good. And hopefully this gives you guys a little bit of confidence to maybe try doing something like this. I know if I was a single person or even just two people with no kids and stuff, man, this would be just so easy right now to just make this money and be able to do all this different things. The bills are a little bit higher when you got a family. But if you're single or, just a couple doing this and you guys are maybe tag teaming, sourcing together, oh man, you guys could have so much fun doing this. Maybe I'll shove my kids off into the closet or something, or ship them to grandma's house so me and my wife can just live the life of freedom, just enjoying the beach and sourcing everywhere. And no, I'm not going to do that. I love my family. I love doing this, and it's up and down. I'll be honest, sourcing, living, emotions, but I would not change this for anything. Just seeing the fun and the joy in our kids' eyes, and the fun and joy we've had just going to these places, and just the moments. There's no amount of money or structured life or house or anything that could make me change what we're doing right now. And hopefully it continues, and hopefully you guys will see that. But for right now, this is already getting pretty long. Please, again, like and subscribe if this is the kind of content you want to see, and help me out here. Hopefully we can build this channel a little bit more. But for now, I will talk to you guys later.